Hi, this is a video for people interested in my project Rostra. It's going to be a short presentation, and I'm hoping to give you a quick overview and the idea behind the project. So what is Rostra? Rostra is a peer-to-peer / friend-to-friend social network protocol or a social network. I've been working on it for more than a year now as one of my side projects. It's implemented in Rust. The code is available for anyone to use or play with. I also have a demo instance, because Rostra supports hosting it anywhere. And it can be hosted as its own in a public mode where anyone can use their ID. Let me just to showcase it, just to show it a little bit. If you go to the rostra.me, you can use it in a public mode as well. It's self-hostable. It is meant to be used either locally or running on your system just for yourself, or hosting it on $5 VPS somewhere, or if you want to host a lot of users, you could it could handle probably a lot of users at the same time, but it's primarily meant to be kind of for personal use or small communities. And one reason to host it on the server is just being able to access it from your phone, as currently there is no separate mobile apps for it, and I'm not planning to work on them, though if someone wants to, it's definitely possible. It can run on any device. Yeah. Now, I started implementing Rostra more than a year ago, but I've been thinking about the problem of social networks for a long time, and I've been playing over years and decades with various social networks, some centralized, with like Twitter, primary example, but there were social networks before, and social networks like Secure, Scuttlebutt, Noster, Blue Sky. I mean, there's quite a lot of them. So, in my opinion, the primary problem with social networks is that there tend to be kind of a public global space, and I think that just doesn't work, and fundamentally that's a wrong way to go about it. First of all, this is not how we interact with people and groups, and yeah, humans were not meant to kind of interact with such a huge groups of people. Even public squares were not global before. If you had a public square somewhere, even in like a ancient city or something like that, there were just maybe hundreds of people there at the time. There was some manageable number of voices kind of at the same time, some of them listening, some of them talking. And the general impression of social networks being global public squares is that you're either irrelevant and you're just kind of you have no traction anyway, so what you're doing there is largely irrelevant. Or when something you do or say strikes a nerve or goes viral, then it turns into a shouting match with the whole internet at the same time. That's kind of how it feels. And both extremes are not very appealing. I don't think people want to interact uh, socially like that. It's not a. There's nothing really social about it. Being social is more about groups and people you know, and it seems like I don't know. Largely, social networks don't try to mimic that, at least natively. Yeah, and there's little respect in those social networks for connections. Even though in most social networks you will have some kind of a following and aspect which should mimic like your social connections, they don't elevate that aspect. And on pages like I don't know, let's say Twitter, oftentimes you're not even gonna see everything people you follow are posting. There is often some algorithm and I'm under impression that I don't always get to see everything people I follow post. Like I don't really, I miss a lot of it, and I feel like even what I'm posting sometimes doesn't, uh, it's not visible to everyone that follow me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just everything I'm posting is kind of lame and boring, but that's just the impression I had over the years. Um, Fundamentally, there's a problem of attention economy in social media, in social platform, and generally in internet, modern internet. It works really only for people that optimize for self promotion. Um, the genuine connection is uh, impossible uh, to to make on those platforms. Um, Everything is filled with just rubbish content, bots, spams, astroturfing, self promotion, low quality, attention seeking videos that just exploit human tendencies and psychology. The discoverability defaults are wrong because, in my opinion, it should be more about what you already like and less about the public, like a global public square aspect. And my interactions on a lot of social media is just never ending stream of trying to mute people because most opinions and most people out there in the world on the internet I don't find relevant, interesting, wise, or a good use of my time. So I just cannot block everyone. It's just impossible in like a large uh, network. There are some website like Lobsters that are kind of invite only, and I think they're making much better job at connecting people that are kind of worth your interaction. But especially the large uh, social networks, I don't find them working uh, like I want. And yeah, and then the way to get traction in social media is just to drum on some controversial topics and try to gather kind of hot-headed following that is very vocal about given issues. Um, and because of that, that's mostly what you see there. Like it's tiring. I mean, we're all humans and we all have certain opinions that are kind of emotional for us, and uh, we all fall to this trap that uh, we hang up on kind of controversial topics, issues, political or ideological. But ultimately, it's just to our own detriment. Um, Yeah, and one aspect that to me is indisputable, especially for anyone that is trying to build a distributed or as like not centralized social network, is the problem of moderation. Centralized social networks can have infrastructure, machine learning, AIs, moderation teams, but any sort of distributed public square digital space will quickly be overrun by by people trying to abuse it with unacceptable to anyone content, etc. Especially if your platform supports media like images or videos. I myself have witnessed some terrible uh, events on social medias that are distributed or federated, and as long as your social media is kind of niche and no one uses it and no one bothers to troll slash abuse, then it might get unnoticed. But once you get popular, there is no good solution. You either have some kind of a censorship slash moderation, um, or anyone can come to your public square and start throwing feces at everybody. There's just no good way out of it except kind of what I'm proposing. And all of these problems are solved very neatly and cleanly by friend to friend social model. So let me explain a little bit what the friend to friend model means. So basically, there is you, and you follow people that you find interesting, like you want to see more of the stuff they post, and then they follow people they find interesting, right? So you have kind of a your own circle uh, of people and content you're interested in, and then if you make one step further, you have potential um, web of trust. You could possibly extend it even further, as like you could want to look at things like posts by friends of your friends of your friends. I mean, this doesn't have to be friends, but followers. Uh, but this is a more natural uh, way communities and trust relationships build for humans. As in, we had like this um, etiquette of introducing people to each other, because if you know someone and kind of value them, then you automatically value people they value more than a stranger, right? And uh, th- this limits like the public square might exist somewhere out there, but what you care about is more intimate and closer to you. Discoverability is also much more natural, as in like if you're interested in given subject and you follow people that are also interested in the subject, then they will naturally point you at people that also uh, might be interesting to you. Yeah, the moderation is not an issue in this model, because if you follow reasonable people, then they will post reasonable things, and the people they follow, they will also post reasonable things. The chances that some influencers, spammers, bots, and whatnot slips into your social circle are uh, much smaller. Uh, Also, in this natural for humans trust model, the incentives are right, as in people have an incentive not to try to make everybody upset and mad, and posting and drumming on some controversial topics, and instead they have an incentive to focus on having nuanced discussions with other people that have kind of similar worldviews or similar value systems. And this produces just better quality. It's a quality over quantity trust model. To me, like the goal with Rostra is to have a social network that is more like a RSS feeds between friends with some ability to that. Like I think if RSS and RSS feeds had a better way of kind of tying them together, as in like someone's RSS feed could point at other like the people they follow over RSS, then that would be very close to what I wanted to achieve with Rostra. And in this model and in Rostra, you can still have a large following, as in you care about who you are interested in. But if someone wants to see what you're posting, they're free to do so. So you can be, famous or very well respected and kind of publicly recognizable. Um, and you don't limit yourself necessarily in this small network. It's just your own interest does not necessarily have to be so large. So the friend to friend social network, if you post something and you have millions of followers, then by default you would see replies, comments to your stuff by people you care about. And if other people outside of your circle want to comment and discuss on what you posted, they can, and the people that follow them will see it, but you don't necessarily need to. And I think that's much more healthier than trying to block half of your internet because you said something that they didn't like. Um, Another thing aspect kind of that I'm trying to drive with Rostra is the concept of personas. So a quick example, like let's say you're interested in software and music, right? And I love your software, but I hate your music. That's just how it is. Like we have this joint. Like our lives are not just one thing. We usually a combination of hobbies, roles, organizations, um, and then in this situation, there's this dilemma for me. Since you're gonna be posting, let's say 50-50 software and music, should I follow you? Should I, um, endure the 50% that I don't like for the 50% that I'm interested in? Um, should you limit yourself? Let's say you're like a well known developer and you like posting developer content, but you don't want people that don't enjoy your music to stop following you just because you want to express your other interest or some parts of your life outside of that domain. And yeah, and then some people are gonna enjoy you for this and some people are gonna enjoy you for that, and what do you do about it? Do you have like separate accounts per a role domain? It's a very common problem to me. I see it a lot, and oftentimes it's politics, and politics are difficult and people have a lot of opinions, and there's a lot of people I kind of enjoy their technical work, but they're gonna drum on some politics stuff that I might disagree, or even if I'm sympathetic, I don't care. Um, yeah. So the solution in Rostra is to have every post associated conveniently with persona, which is kind of like your not sub ID, but more maybe a little bit more like a tag, even though it doesn't work like a tag. Uh, but it's just something so everyone else can follow you and be able to opt in or opt out to certain personas. Like it's not currently implemented, but I want the personas to be self-defined. Currently, I just have a kind of a preset with three personas, which is personal, professional, and civic. So in personal, I will post my favorite songs or something, kind of a vibe of a day. In professional, I mostly post technical stuff. In civic, I would post some kind of political discussion or ideological discussion, and even just those three predefined personas would be very handy um, for people that want to see my technical work but don't enjoy my political opinions, right? And to me, that's the concept behind it is kind of wholesomeness. Like you want to have a social network when you can have a one identity. You don't have to manage and switch between other identities, and you don't have to worry that some part of your identity is not as popular as the other. Yeah, this is still kind of the Rostra doesn't almost have any users, frankly. So there was no big need to work on that so far, but it is kind of already there as a concept. So that was most kind of a higher level overview. Now I'm going to be diving a little bit deeper under the surface. So Rostra is a public network, even though it's friend to friend. Everything in it is public, and the whole design assumes that you use it for expressing yourself in a public. You could add to it. It wouldn't be even any hack. It just there are possible extension to introduce things like direct messages that could be encrypted and things like that. But currently, that is I'm not moving into that direction at all. And to me, the niche I'm trying to address is kind of public social media aspect. If you have something more private, my advice would be to use something else for it, because the design here is not going to be ever that great for it. So your identity is sovereign. Like you just generate a cryptographic ID. I'm not going to dive too deep on because this is also a big topic with a lot of opinions. But it's similar to a lot of alternatives like Noster or Secure Scuttlebutt. You generate a private public key pair, you have an identity, you sign your posts, or you sign everything so other people can know it's from you. Under the hood, this identity is a PCAR identity. So PCAR is kind of a distributed BitTorrent DHT based identity system. So anyone can look up and kind of connect to you even if they never had any exchange with you and they don't know your address, etc. As long as they have your ID from somewhere, they can find you and they can connect to your nodes. Rostra is entirely peer-to-peer using an IROC library under the hood. Thanks to this, like the connectivity is never an issue. You can host your Rostra node on your laptop, even on a mobile device, potentially, and it will work just fine. Recently, IROC implemented private connectivity mode, aka relay only mode. So by default, Rostra uses it just to not expose your IPs directly to other users. I think it's a good default. It will work a little bit slower, but Rostra is a very lean network, so it doesn't require like big amount of data being exchanged to work just fine. And it's possible to just opt out of it, and this is very useful for publicly hosted nodes. So you can host your instance on your VPS, and then you don't care about your IP being directly exposed, and you can just get better kind of underlying performance, even though I don't think it matters too much. I know that iRock is working on a Tor transport, so in the future Rostra should also work directly over Tor for people that want entirely anonymous identities. Under the hood, Rostra are using events, which work a little bit like CRDTs, and users replicate those between each other. Mostly your followers download and host your identity for you. So even if your node is offline, everything you posted can still be retrieved from your followers, and people who follow you have an events of your followers, so they can tell who is your follower and can connect to them. So everything is naturally redundant. And also following from this trust model, the abuse is, the surface for abuse is much lower, because if someone's trying to spam, you're probably not going to follow them in the first place, so their content is not going to be replicated on any nodes and they achieve nothing. So by leaning into the friend-to-friend nature of it, the abuse, even on like the lower level, is much more difficult. Now a little bit more about the event model. I think this is kind of a different lower level, which many people might not care, but I find the model that other kind of peer-to-peer distributed social network use to be kind of lame. One problem in secure scuttlebutt was that you couldn't use it with multiple devices easily with one identity. In a network like Nostr, which is kind of similar to secure scuttlebutt, you can never be sure if you received everything from everyone, and everything is kind of throw it at the wall and hope that the relay is gonna keep it and expose it to other people. So in Rostra, the event model is building a DAG. This is kind of a big difference from Nostr and secure scuttlebutt. So every time a given node wants to publish something new on the network, if it knows about the last most recent event, it will link it from the new event. So on the graph here, the E10 is the event 10, and it has a ID of the event 9, and your latest node, latest event is called your head. This model is kind of very similar to Git, really. You can, if you're familiar with internals of Git, you might recognize it. But the node, every event can also point to additional event. And this sometimes have a special use. For example, one event can delete a previous event, basically marked it as deleted. Or if no special use is required, it will point to a random previous event. And this forms naturally kind of a DAG / skip list. And this has great properties for syncing this DAG, because you can very easily in like O log n get to the roots. Yeah, I guess these are roots. If this is a head, then there will be feet or something. But yeah, you can traverse this DAG skipping steps very easily. So it's possible to parallelize it and sync it very quickly. And you can easily tell someone kind of the state of your whole DAG by giving them your latest head pointer, and then they can kind of follow from there and cascade into the depth of this graph. Every event is fixed size, and the actual content associated with it is a separate blob of data. This model is kind of like Git. So the event is fixed size and relatively small, with the signature is just 192 bytes, and its ID is just the hash of its content. All right, and the content itself is committed to through a hash and its length. The event will contain things like the format version, always good to have in case we ever want to do any format changes, some flags which trigger special behavior, a timestamp, kind of a UTC Unix timestamp to be able to order, possibly in the UI, things, your outer public kind of key, a kind. So there's multiple kinds, and one of the kinds is for expressing your trust relationship with someone, that you kind of follow them. Or another kind is a social post, and another kind is a binary blob, which is used for multimedia. Also on the event, there is the small byte of array is called aux key, which allows things like singleton events. So like the general purpose event tracking code can maintain a list of the last event of a certain kind for you, which is useful for things like your social profile. But anyway, that might be a little bit too detailed for this talk. And then there are parents. So there is a main parent, which is supposed to be the previous, your previous head, and the auxiliary parent, which is like, can be a random event or something special in certain cases. And this gives you a very easy multi-device support, because what happens with a multi-device support is that both devices are free to publish new heads at any point, and then if any of the nodes notices that your identity has two disjoint heads, it will create an event pointing at both of them to join them into a single DAG again. All right, and so if you post from your phone and then from your laptop where you have a separate node, everything just works. This was a big limitation with the with secure scuttlebutt, because it was trying to maintain a single chain, and then two devices could kind of fight for the place in that chain. And for example, I think in the network like Nostr, they don't have any form of kind of a chaining published stuff together, in part because of this problem. So the DAG model solves it very easily. And then a little bit more about content being attached. So by committing to the hash and the length of the event's content, it's possible to do Blake 3/BAO verified streaming. So you can download content of an event from anyone, and you're able to detect that it's verified content matching the hash of the event very quickly. And this allows in Rostra potentially to host 100 gigabyte, even large files, and you can download them from anyone. It doesn't have to be the person that posted it. If their follower is hosting given content, you can stream it. You could watch a large video real time from someone, and the hosting can be distributed among the followers, among the network. And thanks to the length being part of the event itself, it's possible for followers to skip downloading some content. So for example, if you're running a lightweight node, you don't necessarily want to download right away a 100 megabyte video someone posted on the Rostra. So your node can just skip it. And it's also possible to prune over time the content you're hosting. So if you're following someone posting a lot of videos, maybe you want to download like latest two at the given time, but over time, Rostra event management will drop some of that content, and you can do it probabilistically. So for any kind of video, there's a high chance that at least one of the followers still has a copy. So even if the original person that originally posted it, their nodes are offline, the followers can still find this content among other followers. And by doing this kind of probabilistically, mostly based on the closeness of keys to each other, kind of Kademila distance style, if you're familiar with that, it's possible to kind of a redundant archival for a lot of content. So it's not like everyone has to store a full copy of everything all the time. And again, with BAO verified streaming, your UI would be able to download given content pretty quickly for you on demand, even if your node did not store it right away. Now, Rostra comes with a web UI. You can kind of see it here. It's relatively simple, but it's functional. It has like features you would expect with notifications, mentions, real-time updates, and stuff like that. It's a server-side built-in UI. It's very light on JavaScript and works without JavaScript enabled. It's fully functional. It uses hypermedia, in this case Alpine Ajax, to kind of do the partial updates and give this like nice interactivity. The layout is responsive. I browse my identity kind of from my phone, and everything works pretty well. I also use kind of Twitter from my browser. I would never install it as an app, so I think it works even better than kind of a website like Twitter/X work on my phone. You can run it anywhere. You just need a browser. You start the node. It will open the browser, your system browser for you, pointed at the web UI, and you're good to go. I only have so much time. I don't want to be maintaining heavy UI frameworks or React, whatever. I'm more of a hypermedia web UI developer. You can host it. You can have a public instance where anyone can put their ID and use it, or you can host it as for yourself or a group. So you would be only able to use it with your own ID. One interesting feature of Rostra that I didn't mention before is like, because it's fundamentally public, and the secret key is only used for producing new content / events, you can view, you can use it in a public mode, as in, for example, this is a fake user, and you can see it's a read-only view, because the secret key for this identity was never provided for it. So the Rostra can sync everything for any ID that you pointed at, and recreate the view that user would see without having their secret key, which is great because, for example, Rostra supports RSS feeds. So this user might not be, but let's say myself, right? This feed can generate RSS feed of all of my posts. And then if anyone was hosting any other Rostra instance, and it also would be public, the view that instance would create would be exactly the same, because they would just sync all the events between each other, and those events contain everything you need to know about what I posted and who I follow. So I think that like every public instance of Rostra is a mirror of every other instance, so to say. Now to mention some features, so you can post, you can reply to posts, DJot, which is kind of a very minimalistic markdown flavor, is used for formatting. Maybe I should actually, just to show it a little bit, right? So right there, it has a real-time preview, so you can do things that you don't have to limit your post to some like just a paragraph. Everything kind of just works. It even supports kind of a is that how it's supposed to work? This is supposed to work. I forgot the syntax. Here is the button. You can always click and yeah, and check it. It supports multimedia, right? What is it? Yeah, and this media is automatic. It's not external in this case, at least. It's entirely synced through the protocol itself, so you don't need to host the image somewhere else. Though it does have support for YouTube videos. By default, they're not loaded because I enjoy privacy and I don't want to expose, like ping Google from your instance anytime someone posts something from YouTube. So it will display for you kind of a this little kind of label, and if you click it, it will expand it because, well, it's hosted on YouTube, so you gotta get it from YouTube. But if you don't do that, then it will never call YouTube and expose your user to YouTube. It's kind of up to you. Yeah, there are emojis, right? You can mention people, right? This expands to the usernames. If you do that and they follow you, then they will get a notification. Yeah, the notifications use cookies to track what did you already see, what you didn't. Yeah. Yeah, supports native or external media. Videos work. That's like, I think that's pretty interesting. Where did I post the video? I remember posting the... Oh, here's like example of a video when I'm presenting a new emoji auto-completion, right? It has the autoplay. Yeah, this is entirely hosted server side on your instance. So there's no like privacy. Your privacy is not compromised. Yeah, emoji. There's LaTeX rendering. I don't know. Is that her? No. I think that's the syntax. Yeah, there you go. MathJax library under the hood is gonna render. I mean, it's supposed to be your technically minded people, so yeah, you have some math you wanna talk about? Go for it. All right, notifications, mentions, fully working. There's a shout box, which is a recent feature. Right, it's kind of like a global chat but only people that follow you will see what you posted. So it's not exactly the same as you expect from chat, but just something for having a lightweight conversation. RS feeds, like every ID will generate RS feed, and you can add it to your RS reader from a public instance like Rostra Me, and it will just work. So you cannot even use Rostra UI if that doesn't suit you. As you can see, also there are already bots. Like you can have a RSS bot. You can have a little scrapper that posts something from news. It's entirely up to you. I added it mostly just as a some way to put some content and test Rostra. Um, yeah. You can quickly look at there's some like developer features here, and yeah, you can see that, for example, what I generated on Rostra takes 91 kilobytes of metadata. So these are like all the events, and then 15 megabytes of actual content, which is mostly I posted some like bigger videos and couple of images, right? And this content is very easily prunable, and metadata is potentially also prunable. It just you need to prune it as like a DAG, probably deleting last events that are too old to care about anymore. Yeah, I think given that I've been using it for a year and I generated 91 kilobytes of events themselves, yeah, it's there's no urgency to implement that part. And the content, once there's more users and they start posting more images, the implementations for kind of a garbage collecting and pruning of multimedia and larger content is pretty easy to do. There is also kind of a peer-to-peer debugger here, which is useful mostly for development. I don't think the users need to care too much about that. And like your followers, I have some kind of test accounts. There have been some people before that were using it. Yeah, you can. I can here show the following model. So you can unfollow someone. You can follow someone with everything and select what you don't care about, or the other way around. You can follow them only for things you care about, and then the rest, their other personas, posts from their other personas are not going to be shown on your timeline, right? So here in the following, you see content from people you follow directly, and in the network, you see content of your followers and people they follow. So it's more like a discoverability feed. Right now, those two are not very different because the network, the trust graph is not that deep right now. Yeah. Okay, so thank you. I hope that's been at least a little interesting. I encourage you to try the Rostra and give it a chance on rostra.me. It's one click away. There is a generate ID button, so if you create this, it will populate it with like random ID for you. When you log in, your browser should ask you to save that identity, and that's very easy. Like you can make a backup later, but that's very easy and usable way to try it. Remember that by default, no one can see what you're posting. I think that's like one of the bigger barriers for Rostra for becoming more popular, because it's a double-edged sword. I mean, if you go on Twitter, create a new ID and start posting, nobody probably cares and no one will follow you anyway too. But you get a feeling of like going into the larger audience. In Rostra, that's kind of a feature. You don't. So if you created your ID, post it maybe either on our GitHub discussion page or on my kind of a developer support matrix channel, whichever is more convenient. And yeah, for time being, I'm following everyone that shows up, and I'm trying to bootstrap at least a couple of people to make it more fun and something for people to stick around. But yeah, in my opinion, this checks kind of all the boxes for a decent social network platform that is kind of open sourced, global, but isn't completely inherently broken from the beginning due to stuff like moderation. And it's actually peer-to-peer. The data model is it's not lame. It's not just JSON. that is weirdly signed for kind of no good reason. Yeah, I didn't get too much into critiques of other social networks implementations. Maybe it's better to stay more positive. But I really think like this is a good design, and the only thing it needs is just some interesting people to use it and hang out with. So yeah, maybe give it a try. And especially now, you might still have a big influence on features, directions, and we can build it together. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, thank you for your time, and talk to you hopefully later. Bye.